Hello, this is Archie Dunlop with Talking Astrology with Archie on Monday, June the 12th, 2023. I just heard that the Unabomber has died in prison, Ted Kaczynski. I did look at his chart quite recently. He was the mathematician turned lone wolf terrorist who was concerned about the destruction of his environment. He was concerned about the overreach of science, and he sent bombs to a range of people, including scientists, university workers, I think people involved with logging. Anyway, he was arrested on April the 3rd, 1996, and he managed to avoid the death penalty. And anyway, he's died. So what I thought I'd do is have a quick look at his horoscope before I look at the position of the planets for today. Anyway, let's have a look at Ted Kaczynski's chart. I'm not going to spend long on it. So I'm just going to make a few observations. He was a brilliant mathematician, but he didn't really relate to the world around him. Yes, he could see it being destroyed, yes, I think we can all see our world, our environment being destroyed, but sending bombs isn't the right way to deal with it. What we notice about this chart, this is Ted Kaczynski's chart, is that pretty much all his planets are on one side. They're all towards the ascendant. When you've got that, it relates to someone who is usually quite individualistic. They like to do things their way. They're not influenced too much by other people. They are, in a positive sense, they're an initiator. But you can see how if you've got all your planets on to the east of the chart, that you might feel somewhat detached from the outside world, and this seems to have been what happened with Ted Kaczynski. Notice also that he hasn't really got any Earth in his chart. He's got Neptune in Virgo, but that doesn't really count because that's a generational planet. He's a mega Gemini, no Earth. So his whole approach was probably fairly ungrounded. To begin with, he got into his mathematics, and I suppose that must have provided him with some satisfaction. But he just wasn't connected to the real world. Now, as far as his arrest is concerned, the progressions for his arrest are somewhat strange. So if we look at his secondary progressions, this is set for April the 3rd, 1996, when he got arrested. And the key point to remember is that the midheaven is at 1718 Aries. Remember that, 1718 Aries. That's where it's progressed to. Now, let's just do a bi-wheel. So he has, in his natal chart, he had his Venus at 1805 Aries, and the midheaven had progressed to his Venus. There's his Venus. We go through from the solar arc, we take roughly 1 degree a year. So he gets arrested when the midheaven hits his Venus. That's a bit strange. Why would that be? Then we look again at his chart and we see that his progressed Venus was at 2035 Gemini, just approaching his ascendant. It was a Venus event, getting arrested. Now, I don't know anything really about Ted Kaczynski, but it seems to me that Venus is the planet of social contact. It's the planet of relating, not just about romance. It's about having to deal with people, relate to people, and so forth. And so he in his cabin was trying to avoid the world, and it seems to me that his arrest meant that the world was interacting with him, and he may have been so secluded, but it was his arrest was actually a Venus event, even though he was going to prison for the rest of his life. That was a change. He, in a way, getting arrested improved his social life. I don't know anything about that. I really don't know anything about his life, but that's just a thought. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he had a great social life before he was arrested. Yeah, so it was interesting, his arrest and his progressions. If I was his astrologer, I mean, not that I'm sure he doesn't believe in astrology, and I was making predictions for him based on progressions for April 1996, I would have got it completely wrong. Anyway, let's look at today's astrology. Today is Monday, June the 12th, 2023, and the moon continues to be in Aries, where it makes a trine aspect to Mars. I think that is quite fortunate. It means we're going to have a lot of energy. We're going to be able to express ourselves, and I think there's going to be a certain amount of spontaneity. If we want to start new projects, maybe that's a good thing, Moon making a trine to Mars, particularly if these projects are of an assertive nature. It might be a good time to start a new relationship. It might be a good time to approach someone for the first time and tell them what's on your mind. Yeah, I think overall it's quite good, Moon trine Mars. I suppose on the downside, Moon in Aries, Mars in Leo, it can be a bit angry. There may be times when people do fly off the handle because it is a trine. Trines aren't just a good aspect. They are an easy aspect. An easy aspect means it's easy to lose one's temper. So do bear that in mind. There are a couple of interesting midpoints. Mercury is conjunct the Venus-Neptune midpoint. And, Venus-Neptune is a bit confused, can be a bit confused about people, can be a bit confused about relationships. And so with Mercury, the planet of communication, conjunct the Mercury-Neptune midpoint, then there's scope for getting caught up in fantasies. We need to think about what we're thinking about. We might be thinking stuff which is just not realistic. Now, you could say, it's harmless, we can think whatever we like, but I don't know, I think it could be, I won't say dangerous, but it could be maybe just a waste of time. And we certainly don't want to act on our fantasies with Mercury on the Venus-Neptune midpoint. And action is probably going to be about saying something. So we might say something based on a false understanding of the situation, and that might lead to embarrassment. Also, we've got Venus on the Mars-Pluto midpoint. In terms of relationships, Mars-Pluto could be a bit jealous. Venus on the Mars-Pluto midpoint might be about being a little obsessive when it comes to relationships and love, particularly if one's in a relationship which is a bit unstable, which is already sort of flawed. Then you've got to watch out. Some obsessive thoughts, people not wanting to let go. And also, we've got Mars on the Jupiter-Uranus, Mars squaring the Jupiter-Uranus midpoint. The Ebertins says that the Jupiter-Uranus combination is, I believe, he says, thank the Lord. This is a time when some of us are going to want to go all out to seize an opportunity. We may think that this is it. We've got our chance to find a release, to turn the tables. So yeah, maybe that's good, but we have to be a bit careful. We must know when to stop. Now, as far as my forecasts for the 12 signs are concerned, let me find them. Here we are. June the 12th, Aries. You are energetic and you are ready to throw everything you've got into the achievement of your aims. Luck is on your side. Taurus. You're quite ambitious and you find yourself being impatient for results. A burst of intense activity gets you the results you're looking for. Gemini. You find yourself having strange thoughts. After all, Mercury is on the Venus-Neptune midpoint. Perhaps they're just fantasies. Don't misread the signals. Cancer. In terms of money, you're on the move, and your sudden initiatives can boost your bank balance. Leo. You're inspired by unusual ideas, or perhaps by things from a foreign country. Follow the inspiration. Virgo. Don't be fooled or delayed by other people, especially in terms of career and business. Look beneath the surface. Libra. What is it that you desire? Is it that crazy? Once you've done a reality check, you can reach for what is possible. Scorpio. You're in a strong position and your organizational skills help, and a stroke of luck gives you a helping hand. Sagittarius. Be creative and don't apologize. Your activities may be liked and also disliked, but that's not really your problem. Capricorn. Don't worry about the boring work that other people don't want to do. You'll get through it quickly and profitably. Aquarius. Words are important and you shouldn't say something if you don't mean it. What you put out is what you get back. And Pisces. You don't want to be bothered, but it's a situation where small efforts bring worthwhile gains. Forgive people their fantasies. Now, let's move on to the I Ching. As usual, I threw the 3 coins and I asked the question, what will Monday be like for visitors to my YouTube channel? And the first hexagram I got was the receptive. You can see 6 lines, all of them broken. So it's about not really doing anything, certainly not initiating anything. We have to kind of be passive. We have to see what the world is going to give us. So, don't feel you have to do anything. But this hexagram, the receptive, it does move. We have moving lines. You see we've got X's here representing the second line moves, 4th line moves, and the 6th line moves. So what's that about? Well, in the first instance, I don't think there's any problem with doing nothing. But there may be pressure, perhaps, to do something, pressure to reveal what's on our minds. But we have to resist that pressure. And as the day progresses, we start moving to the top line moving. So when the top line moves, we may have some problems with another person. Someone may try to take control. someone who is really up to no good. Now, that could actually be ourselves. It could be some thought we have which is really not going to do us any good. And we're going to be troubled by this thought, or we're going to be troubled by these people getting in our way. And that does lead to a struggle. There will be a struggle. We will be in a situation where we have to maybe have an internal battle, or we have to confront people who are up to no good. And I think it's a situation where we are going to prevail because we're in the right. But when we get involved in a struggle or a battle or a fight, we can't get through it unscathed. There could be damage. So obviously any physical confrontation, of course, should be avoided, but not just avoided. We mustn't get involved in a physical confrontation. But I think it's going to be more of a ideas, intellectual confrontation, or maybe we're just going to have to confront our own stupid ideas, and it's going to be exhausting. We're going to have to show some real self-discipline. Anyway, this hexagram, the receptive, because it's got 3 moving lines, it will move, and so it moves to a hexagram number 64, the last hexagram in the book, because there are 64 hexagrams in the I Ching, and hexagram number 64 is before completion. So we get through this crisis, we get through these difficulties, and things are getting better, and we realize that it is actually possible for us to achieve our goals. So, what is that goal? Certainly a short-term goal you want to achieve. Yeah, it really is possible, but we're not there yet. And the I Ching does give a warning with before completion. It relates it to a fox crossing ice, and it mustn't get its tail wet. So that's what the I Ching says. So, in the moment where we're so close to getting what we want, we might make a mistake. So we've got to really make sure everything is fine. Everything's got to be sorted out. We mustn't lose it at the last moment. So anyway, that's all I've got to say for today. I hope you found that useful, and I will talk to you tomorrow.